Morning. It's Thursday, September 23rd. This morning I want to talk about what's going on in Congress. We have a severely divided Congress, as all of you know. We have Republicans who are against almost everything that the Democrats propose. But there's another rift in Congress, and in my mind it's bigger than the one that's run by the Republicans. It's the progressive group of the Democratic Party that does not want to cooperate. Now, the Democrats hold a razor-thin majority in the Congress, so any defections within their party can prevent them from moving this country forward. And I'm not in favor of everything the Democrats are going to do. This is not about whether or not I think they're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. This is about creating cohesion within your own group of people. So we have this group called themselves the Progressives. The so-called chairman of this group, chairwoman of this group, Pramila Jayapal, is standing by her claim that her members will not vote for the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill without passing the $3.5 trillion package that is aimed at enacting President Joe Biden's economic agenda. Now, Jayapal has said they're not bluffing. The progressives are not bluffing, and she's daring people to try us. Well, this is a critical moment in this session of Congress, because on September 27th, the voting is going to take place. And the worst thing that the progressives can do is halt the $1 trillion bill from going through. This is a battle that needs to be fought in pieces. You can't win the whole war in one battle. So you have to take what you can, and you take the $1 trillion, and then you fight for the 3.5 later on. And there's a whole bunch of things going on in Congress now. We've got the debt ceiling that has to be taken care of, because if we can't get votes to raise the debt ceiling, then all of this stuff with the infrastructure and the $1 trillion and the $3 trillion is out the window, because we don't have the money to back it. We can't borrow anymore. So there's a lot of things that have to be taken care of. And we shouldn't be making proclamations until all the parties have got together and sat down and straightened this out. I think it's the wrong position for the progressives to be taking. I would like to hear their solutions to many of this problem. I have not heard solutions to a lot of the problems. And unfortunately for the Democrats, the progressives are not the only ones who have a problem with the $3.5 trillion infrastructure package. There are moderates within Congress who are unhappy with that number and believe it's way too high. And so there's a lot of things that are going on that have to be taken care of. And one should not be making proclamations about what they're going to do before they've all sat down and thrashed this thing out behind closed doors. You don't, as the expression goes, wash your laundry in public, So I think the progressives are way off base. They've got to sit down and figure out how to negotiate, not how to threaten. They are not a big enough part of this party and not well enough established to take the positions that they take. This is not going to bode well for them in the future. They have to figure out how to work to get their agendas taken. Their cause would be better served if they paid attention to the tax code and presented ideas about how to change the tax codes so that these bills could be paid for. If they worked on eliminating the inequities in the tax codes and raising the money properly, instead of just ranting about tax the rich, tax the rich. That's not the answer. That is not the answer. The answer is, how do we change the tax code so that it's equitable for everybody? It's easy to say tax these people, but the tax means nothing if tax avoidance is still available. These people are not doing anything illegal, as I've said many, many times. If progressives wanted to do something intelligent, they would take on the Republicans and take on the fight about the tax code and about the fierce loyalty that the Republicans have to the tax cuts and the campaign funding and everything. That's what the progressives should be doing. They should not be fighting to spend more money. They should be fighting to raise more money so that you can spend more money. So in my mind, their battle is ass backwards. Another thing to consider is the $3.5 trillion bill doesn't have enough support right now to pass. So why would Pelosi bother bringing it up for a vote? There's still a lot of work to be done on it. So the progressives are jumping ahead of the game. Pay attention to what's going on. Don't make some dumb statements now when there's no need to make the fight now. The fight should come later on when it's time for the $3.5 trillion bill to come up for the floor for a real vote. That hasn't happened yet. That hasn't happened. So you're making a big fuss about nothing. And you're just proving to the rest of the country how poorly you are organized. And there are many who have turned against the Democrats because of the progressive ideas that you have put forth and vocally, so bravely, about all the wonderful things you're going to do for this country. And most of you have no real experience to back up those claims. You have to learn how to compromise. You have to learn how to be a team member. Cause that is going to bring us nothing but trouble right now. And the worst thing that you can do is force this thing to be brought up to the floor for a failing vote. You have to postpone the work on the $3.5 trillion bill and get it into a position where it will pass and where you have all your ducks in a row. You can't rush these things, and you can't delay the $1 trillion bill just because you want the $3.5 trillion bill. You can't have everything you want all the time, especially when you have division. There are moderates within the Democratic Party that don't even want to spend the 3.5. So you have to get them on your side, and that takes time. And you've got other big things to take care of, like the debt ceiling and things. So I don't know why you're making such a big fuss in making proclamations that are only going to turn people against you. This is not the way to form cohesion within your party, especially when you need cohesion because you're sitting on a razor-thin margin anyhow. And there's very little chance that you're going to change any Republicans' minds. So I think I've said enough about this, and the Democrats should wake up and figure out a way to work together because the Republicans seem to be more in tune with each other, more cohesive, and more willing to stand up for their ill-guided messages. I leave you with that this morning. See you tomorrow. Bye.